Week 7, March 2nd, the week before reading week. So might have some time to work on some schoolwork next week or just take a breath. And I'd not have to worry about coming to class or doing too much work, but it just, that's a good thing to look forward to. But also, we kind of got a little taste of warm weather on the weekend. Sort of melting, snow started melting a bit, and then suddenly yesterday, maybe even Sunday, things started getting windy and cold. It's gonna be cold all week now, so that's okay. I still had a good weekend. Not sure what everyone does this time of year. I try to get outdoors most days, most times of the year, and I am a person that makes maple syrup. So I was out tapping some trees on the weekend. Me and my one friend make maple syrup, and we have a spot actually almost in Barrie. It's not too many forested spots in Barrie, but we have a spot with trees, and we tapped about put about 70 taps in, which is pretty good. Yeah, she's thinking about how much syrup that makes. Usually it's just on about every tap you put in, make about between half and a liter of syrup. So depending on how your season's going. So might get between 35 to 50 liters of syrup. So that's a good thing to look forward to. So that's a fun thing to do outdoors. As we're starting to get warmer, always a sign of spring, because to get sap, it has to be above 0 during the day, but freezing at night. So it's looking like next week. I think it's going to be above 0 during the day and freezing at night. Jessica, do you make stuff? Do you ever make syrup? Ever sap?
I've been to places where they make it and enjoyed pancakes, but that's about it.
Exactly. Well, maybe at some point this year I'll give away some syrup. Okay, if it's possible. I don't know where everyone's living, but maybe I'll have some extra that I can give away to someone in the class. So pancakes, French toast, all that fun stuff, sausages if you're into that sort of thing. And any just recipes you can use for maple syrup. So fun things to do in the spring when you're outdoors. You have some maple trees. What are we looking at here? We have about 14 people online already, which is great. I'm happy to see everyone this morning. And it's interesting that we have to see similar people every week, which is good. I just wanted to, let's see, before we we have started. Sort of finding my notes here. Okay. Just gonna, before we get rolling into the content of this week, I'm just going to start by, hopefully everyone can use the chat this morning. I'm going to find my chat. There it is, bottom right corner, so where it shows up for me. Click on that. All right, I'm going to ask you some random questions here. So get ready to type in your answer, and just something to get us warmed up. Okay. So I know during this time we've been locked down, many of us have gone to online shopping, right? We buy all kinds of stuff online. I think the last thing I bought was, well, actually, I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to ask you don't type it in yet. So get ready, type it in, but don't hit enter. So I'm going to ask you, what is the last thing you bought online shopping? You don't have to have received it yet, but you would have had to make the purchase. Okay, so I'm going to get mine typed in here. Okay, so I'm just going to say hit enter, and then you're going to hit enter. So 3, 2, 1, hit enter. Right. You can actually buy cat food online? I didn't even know that. I guess you can buy anything online, right? Hey, that's good. And some shoes. Sirkin, I'm always worried about buying clothes online that it's never going to fit me and I'm going to have to return it. So maybe I've thought about it though, like maybe more of like a touchless curbside pickup or something like that. Um, winter boots. Yeah, winter boots. Uh, but you get to use it later. Yes. Okay, fishing gear. Matthew, okay, good to hear. Either using it now or you're getting ready to use it in the spring. I'm not sure. What are you doing? Are you using it now? Well, I know I put down my mountain bike brake pads. All the biking, my brakes are kind of squeaking. It's probably metal on metal right now. I'm not sure, but replacing the pads very soon on my mountain bike, so I don't annoy everyone on the trails when they come squeaking through the trails. I also had some Lulu pants. Okay, excellent, Brad. They are the most comfortable pants to wear. Honestly, you can afford those. You can get those. Okay, I'll ask you another question here. You warmed up this morning. This is the question I'm going to ask. Okay, all of us have headphones. Yes, headphones, Kyle. Definitely. How about you got these ones online here a few months back? I figured out mine weren't working very well. These ones are awesome. They fit so nicely. Okay. Oh, your baby a cushion. Okay, that's funny. Good. Next question is: everyone has to do those household chores that are in the house. You know, you could be washing dishes, laundry, but what's the one chore in your house that you do that you actually like doing? So don't hit enter yet. Okay. That's okay. I put my answer down here. Maybe a few more seconds to think about it. But what's that chore you have to do at home that you actually don't mind doing? All right. So get ready to hit enter. 3, 2, 1. Hit enter. Cleaning. Okay. General cleaning. Laundry. See, Ashlyn, I'm a laundry person too. I can't wait to get that stuff in the machine. And I always hang my clothes out to dry. I have a laundry rack actually right in the back corner here. You can probably see it, maybe over there. Um, and it's definitely something I enjoy doing. I like, well, washing them, drying them, folding them, putting them away. I like the whole process. So maybe it's just that I like to keep things clean. Maybe that's part of it. And yeah, it smells good afterwards as well. Definitely. Zach's definitely the snow blower. Okay. It's like you get all geared up in the garage, hit the garage opener, after you get it started up and just hit the driveway and the walkways and all that sort of stuff. Right. And cleaning the floors. Yeah. A few years ago we took all the carpets out of our house basically, and it's just wood floor or tile. And it's crazy. I can never. It's crazy how much dirt's on your floor after if you go to sweep it. It's like, where would this dirt all have gone if I had carpets? It's like you wouldn't see it. Just be like, but that's why we have. Who do we have around here that had the carpet, the cleaning, the vacuuming? Matthew would have been over here vacuuming it up. So that would have happened. Right. Yes. Smells good. It's Matthew. Funny. I know, but you'd be out there helping us with the vacuuming. Okay. Now, I guess we'll get going now. Okay, we could ask questions all day and just get distracted from our schoolwork, our classwork, and that sort of thing. But we have to stay on task. Getting rolling for today, and I'll just give a little overview of what we've done so far. And looking at this point in the course, week 7, we're coming up to, excuse me, 7. Up to last week, we did 7 modules. This week, we're doing 2 more. We're doing 8 and 9. That'll leave us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But 2 of them are quite a bit longer and more intense and more complicated. It sort of brings all of the different modules together. So, yeah, we've been doing the ticket pricing and parking sessions, but then you put that all together in one module, and there's a lot of different variables at play. So that'll be the last few weeks. Today, we will be looking at the sponsorship and promotion, which I find them a bit more interesting when we do them. As far as the modules go, we just have a bit more of, there's no calculations. It's kind of like, well, you have to kind of figure out how much money you can get out of people for doing sponsorship. So we'll go through that shortly. And we're looking at our presentations, and that's that schedule that's happening. Share this for a second. That's just my list of people doing their presentation. So we know that this is the order right here, the topic, the date, students. Okay, so we know we've done the ones in yellow. We've hit technology, pandemic, cannabis, esport. Today we're looking at concussion with Samba, Jess, and Ashlyn. And we know Mikhail has been missing, so that's all right. And then we go down, we have, after that, we have 5 left. And after this week's class, we have 6 weeks left, I believe. 716. Okay, so we're at that point. It's good. So let me get into discussing. So what the schedule will be today, which we did similar to last week. I'm going to do the first module, sponsorship. Then we're going to go through all of it, the concept overview, the quiz, the learning phase, and I'll give you the whole overview on all of the challenge phase as well. And we'll get into the presentation in the middle. And then the second half, I'll do the sponsorship. Promotion. Sponsorship first, then promotion second. And then I'll go through all the different details. And then it will be, I would say, important to listen to what I have to say, just for some tricks to help you get a better mark in the challenge phase. Not going to do it for you, but I'll definitely help you out and try to give you some tips on the best way to achieve a good mark. Okay, so let me get started. It's this one right here. Okay, so to give you a quick overview of the sponsorships. This is the concept overview. All right, give you some of the details, the interesting stuff, things that you should know about. It'll help you on the quiz. Also remember, when you're doing the quiz, most of the answers for the quiz are located in these concept overviews. So hopefully you've figured that out by now. When you go to the quiz, that you'll be able to look on here to find most of your answers. Okay. I don't find the quizzes all that difficult. There's usually about 5 of the questions that I find that you really have to think about, and the other ones are not too hard. Okay, so value of sponsorship. So sponsorship is a mutual advantageous business relationship between parties in which a sponsor provides benefits for the sponsored in exchange for a result that can be measured against predefined objectives. So both parties are trying to leverage each other's market are to get more customers than they would have been able to capture previously. So a team will seek sponsorship to not only generate revenue, but also create brand awareness across different previous untapped markets. While sponsorship partner will try to use the popularity of the particular sports team to grow its brand through fans' live consumption of sporting events. So we know, and there are examples that will go right down to here. This is a good example. The NBA had Coke as a sponsor, had an agreement. You know, the big battle between Coke and Pepsi. Although Coke has many different brands, and Pepsi has many different affiliate brands as well. So Pepsi has Mountain Dew as one of their affiliates, which is a huge millennial market. And Coke doesn't have the millennial market, so they probably have an older audience. Just guessing on that, doesn't say that, but because of the contrast they're showing here, and the sponsorship agreement that helps the NBA grow its fan base, because they want it to the fan base of kids. So when Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis drink a Mountain Dew in a commercial, and Mountain Dew and Pepsi compete against Coke. So this is definitely gearing towards using that product to hit a market of the millennials. Okay, so that's one example there. Whoops. So finance, and you can see all sorts of different examples of this, and we're going to talk about a few more as we go through this. Finding sponsorships for the team. Okay, you have to look at its own motivation and wanting partners. So you know, who are your appropriate sponsors to sponsor your team? We're going to talk about some that aren't appropriate and that work well with the team. So a team may want to enhance its public image, increase brand awareness, stimulate ticket sales from a new fan base. So it works both ways. If you have a team that's not doing well, but you bring in a strong sponsor, then hopefully your team will benefit from that. And the same thing works for a brand. If a brand is not very strong, but they form a relationship with a strong team, the brand may actually benefit more than the team. As we can say, there's a relationship. So the public image and the types of sponsorship packages. So the main revenue source for a team's ability to operate. If a fan walked around the stadium at any given sport, in any given city, they would see sponsored materials throughout, except, second, let me get something here. Oh, I know where it is. Sorry, I want to show you one thing. Okay, I'm getting there. Now, sometimes I'm slower, but hold on. Okay, let me go to show you just one thing. Sometimes my switching around is not as quick as it could be, but so I'm sort of losing the thought there. But this is an older hockey game. This is from the late 60s, early 70s, I believe. And you can see that and the reason I'm showing you this picture is you can look at the boards and see that there's not any advertising on the boards. The boards just used to be white at hockey rinks. There's no brand awareness at all in this picture. So you can see that, you know, how much it's changed. And we know that all hockey games, sports facilities have advertisements all the way around everywhere. Okay. Except, what sporting event don't you see a lot of advertising at? Tell me in chat what sporting event you don't see any advertising at. Might think that it happens every 4 years. Might be a good clue that it happens. International event. Thank you. The Olympics. Yes. Olympics you don't see any advertising at. And they're pretty strict about it. Like it even comes down to like the one thing that some sponsors are very strategic at placing their logos, but if you look on athletes' uniforms, there is some allowance for the name brand of their uniform. Sometimes you see that, but not even all the time. You may not see that all the time either. So the Olympics are one area that you don't see very much advertising at all. Okay, let me get back to my screen. And the type of responses. So a fan walked around the stadium. Okay, the exposure ranges from the naming rights to a stadium, or we can even look at our own campus. We know that there's the new technology building. It's the Peter B. Moore Innovation Center. I'm not exactly sure. I know it's Peter B. Moore. We have the Paul Sadlin Health and Wellness or building. We have the Jamie Massey Sports Field. We have the Helen and Arch Brown Center for Design and Visual Arts. So you can see there's 4 examples right on our own campus of naming rights that have happened. But we know that pretty well every major stadium in North America, it has its a name on it connected to a sponsor. So most recently, you would have seen the change between the Air Canada Center, where the Leafs, Raptors, and others play, to Scotiabank Arena, I believe it's changed to. So also saw that the Sky Dome changed over to Rogers Center. I don't think the Sky Dome was a naming right at that point. That was sort of when it first maybe lost a bit of money there, but I think the Sky Dome stayed in. Maybe someone can help me on how many years, 20 years, 25 years, maybe they kept that name. I'm not sure, but almost arenas, some that you may see like Kaminsky Park or Yankee Stadium have still not, they may have actually sold the naming rights, but it would be like something that is sort of secondary. They're still keeping that name in place. Okay, and we look at product placement. We know that athletes at their post-game press conferences, some they usually have ball caps on or something like that with a sponsor. It could be a clothing sponsor, or they could have their drink. Always have the same sort of drink. It could be like Gatorade or Powerade has the sponsorship for whatever athlete is at that table. Also, you look behind them on their backdrop. There'll be the backdrop, and it'll probably have their team logo interspersed with whatever other logo they need in there. It could be, like I said, Scotiabank or whatever it is. The microphone on the table could have a little finger on it as well. Backdrop behind the athlete, like I said. Banners around the stadium, so on, video boards, and so on. And I just want to show you, where's the other one I want to show you? Looking at that, you also get to sharing. Show you one other thing. Okay. And then when you look, I was talking at the Rogers Center, if anyone's ever been there, hopefully you can see that picture. And one of the kind of the cool areas at Rogers Center now is they've created this. It used to be a restaurant out in center field. Now they call it the Westjet flight deck, and it doesn't matter where you have seats in the stadium. You can walk down to this area, and it's sort of standing room only. They don't have tickets to stand there. You have to have tickets, but they can be tickets anywhere in the stadium. So you can come down, grab a drink, and you can see everyone standing along the front here, there. There's all these different, they call it like there's probably 4, not this upper area, that's press, I believe. But these 3 for other levels all put into place. So, every time they show it front and center, they have the, Westjet logo right in the center. So also, Bud's over here, Rogers over here, lots of placement. You can look at Invesco up here. You have Citizen over here, Acer down here, all sorts of different locations where the sponsorship is being shown. Okay, back to this. And okay. All right, product placement. Okay, so there's no sponsorship act. It's too big or too small. Depends on the partnership fit, the agreed upon fee, the value the sponsor believes it is getting, as well as the value the sponsor brings to the team. So it's a relationship. Pricing and selling a sponsorship, so a particular package. So think about packages because that's what we'll kind of be doing in the modules. Okay, you pitch the sponsor the particular package. Show how to respond. Okay. 1 second. Consumers. Okay. So it's about the exposure, large media coverage. The pitch should also include costs associated with sponsorship. So another thing to think about is when you're watching pro sports now, particularly I watch hockey probably more than any other sport, but there's lots of sponsorships that are still taking place. So even though there's no fans in the stadium, that you can see that the sponsors may have pulled back a little bit, but you could argue that there was as many sponsorships around the ice surface as there were without fans. So this is because of the TV being shown, not all TV, but the cable channels that pick up either Sportsnet or TSN, Rogers Sportsnet or TSN, pick up the games and show them on TV. So people are still watching the game. So when you get your, 2.1 million people or whatever it is watching a hockey game at night, that's a lot more than your 20,000 that are entering the stadium to view it in person. So yes, they're losing all the ticket revenue and concessions and parking and so on. But the sponsorships, money is still there. Okay, so the first step is setting a baseline fee. The goal should be to set the number at the level that keeps the team from getting too little value from the sponsor. Worth at the end of the day. Let me just try to supply and demand is something that is talked about. So what and sponsorship, is there a supply for, or is there a demand for the product? Is there an area to put the product? Is an area to place it in the stadium? Cost benefit analysis we'll be talking about through this. What is the particular market for the specific package? What is the team's economic situation? Are there any issues? This is something we're going to need to remember. Are there any issues or scandals surrounding the team? So there has been times that happens and teams or sponsors separate themselves from teams. Here, an example, okay. Chevy partnered with Manchester United. Man United is probably one of the biggest franchises on the globe. Put their logo on the shirt, which increased the shirt value. That worked out well. So Chev was trying to grow its global footprint and strengthen position in markets other than America. So what happened was, like you said, Man United is the most popular brand in the world. Okay, but I'd say it's one of the top ones, maybe not their top one, but one of the top ones. So Chev in return balanced the financial cost with the brand exposure. So thinking of putting your logo on the shirts of one of the most popular franchises in the world. So the decision to promote Chev, a division of General Motors, so Chevy GM, clashed with your popular European brands of Opel and Vauxhall, all right, both which are owned by GM. Okay, so maybe they didn't think this all the way through. The Chev had issues gaining traction in the European market, causing them to scale back their efforts and subsequently end their attempt at expansion in Europe. The deal didn't pan out exactly as Chev hoped it would. They still exist as the main jersey sponsor, so they were actually hurting themselves on this because they were taking away from their other business by promoting their. So they actually kept it, but they realized that they scaled back a bit so that they wouldn't hurt their other affiliate brands. So partner activation opportunity. Sponsorship activation is a term used to indicate a corporate sponsor's intention of promoting and advertising its sponsorship with the team. Sponsorship will not fulfill its purpose for the corporate sponsor if no one knows about it. Therefore, activation is targeted at going beyond the actual sponsorship agreement to engage and integrate with fans. Okay, examples of this activation include team youth camps, local outreach events that sponsors grocery stores, car dealerships, game day memorabilia giveaway. So it's reaching out other than just putting their brand or their logo on a jersey, on the boards, on a sign. So it's reaching out into the community, reaching out and doing extra things that are either at the stadium or in the. Okay. So drawbacks, sports teams must be concerned with partnering with sponsors that could damage reputation. So partnering with tobacco. Probably none of you remember any tobacco sponsorships, but tobacco has been definitely illegal to advertise, which is, it's I guess because it's connection to sports and maybe not the healthiest thing to do, but when you know that it's legal to smoke, anyone can smoke, anyone can use marijuana or cannabis or whatever you want to call it. Alcohol as well. Alcohol is something that is advertised at stadiums, although we do know that there are rules about alcohol, about showing people drink alcohol. You'll never see anybody actually drink the alcohol in the ads. And gambling is another one. It's so contradictory, and we can talk a whole class just about gambling in sports, and maybe that is one of our topics. I can't remember, but when they have different lotteries and gambling that's legal in the province or in the country, but they won't advertise it at the stadium. But as they go down here and tell you, there has not been an example where fan support has significantly decreased when a team partners with a gambling related company. So maybe it's just that traditional stigma of gambling and that they don't want to bring into the stadium. Also, the Minnesota Vikings down here had a child abuse scandal, and the Radisson logo wanted to distance itself from the team. Okay, so that was a logo or example of that happening there. And some of the key terms which we just talked about: activation, brand awareness, product placement, public image, how companies perceive to customers and the general public, sponsorship. Okay, these were terms that we went over in this concept overview. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And 8:34, I am going to give you some time now to do the quiz. Let me just it is. Okay, it should be available right now. So what we have here is 8:35. I will give you 20 minutes, so it'll be 8:55 to do the quiz. And at 8:55, I will come back and talk about the learning and challenge phase for this module. Okay, so we will have 8:55, which is 20 minutes. Okay, quiz. All right, so I'm just going to shut my camera off. I'll put record on pause and give you those 20 minutes. I'll probably come back at 8:55. Let's keep it 8:55. Okay. Well, that was a quick 20 minutes. Hopefully everyone was able to get through the quiz and not too many issues. Right, thanks there. I'm going to open up the learning is available and the challenge is available. Okay, the sponsorship is open. I am going to go through I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, the learning phase. Sponsorship. So we have one of 8 steps, and I found the learning phase quite here, but one thing to just to navigate yourself around the learning phase of this. So this view we're looking at, then when we clicked on the view up here, we always had city, stadium, concessions, parking. We've seen parking, we've seen concessions, we've seen stadium. So we're using on the city right now. So we can see that this corner is the stadium, and these are actually parking lots. They're all parking lots, I believe. Okay. And then we have these large buildings. Okay. Large buildings, I'll just show you, there's all sorts of them. There's another one here, 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 and here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Okay. And when you're on these buildings, if you click on them, they pop up, sponsor off. It says target company. This one's called Hey Mommy, and domain registration. So, and this is their ad budget right there. These are sponsorship areas that are possible. Okay, click on this one. Target company is Bright Bulb Energy, 1.551 million. What I suggest, don't worry about this too much in the learning phase. I'm going to give you some, when you're doing the challenge phase, I would just have a sheet of paper beside you to write down each name of the company and their ad budget. Okay, that's one of the tricks that I learned, because you're always going, okay, what one was this one again? Triple click. Where was triple click? Was this triple click? Oh, that's Humongous Insurance. So just as you click on them, you can see an ultimate buy. It's right. Oh, this is triple click over here, right? You kind of forget which is which, but if you have them listed, anyways, as we go through this first step, that's one of the this is, we can make it bigger. Okay, I didn't even know that. All right. All right, make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so we just checked them out. Click each tall building, write down it actually says write down the potential sponsor's ad budget, so it is easier to figure things out. The ad budget shown under the name of the sponsor when you click, okay, which sponsor has the highest ad budget? Well, we don't even have to really click on them, because they're telling us right here. Like, we can figure out the Bright Bulb Energy 1.551 million is the largest. Okay, next, let's practice selling sponsorships on a lower budget. Click the sponsor building on the far right of this little guy over here. It is the ultimate buy. You can see here, ultimate buy, and we know that their budget is the 663. Look down at sponsorship opportunities you can offer them. What do you think is the most valuable? They don't really tell you what the most valuable is, but if you have a field level sign, okay, a ticket booth sign, or stadium naming rights. So they have one of these available. Oops, I can't see that. One of those available, and they have 3 of those available. Okay, so field level sign, there's probably a bunch of those. Ticket booth sign, there's you know, if you have 8 ticket booths, you have 8 of those. There's only one stadium naming rights, so we are going to say that it is stadium naming rights, which is correct. In general, you'll be trying to match lower budget sponsors with lower value opportunities and higher budget sponsors with bigger opportunities. Let's try selling the ultimate buy company field sign. You have 3 available. How much should you ask at $30 a square foot? Okay, so to figure this out, if you have 800 square feet is the size of the sign times 30 equals right here. Okay, $24,000 is a simple multiplication. Charging $30 a square foot, sign's 800 square feet. Let's try to get good money for your sign. You'll try asking $36,000, which is $45 a square foot. Okay, trying to gouge this group. Okay, but they have a small budget. I don't know if they're going to go for this. All right, so check the box. You always have to check. I always forget to do this every time I do this, but you have to check the box right here. All right, so make sure you always check these boxes, these little boxes. And you also want to write in right here. You're going to put in enter an offer of $36,000. And here, make an offer. What did they say? I don't like the offer very much. You'll have to do better than that. Okay, well, they said they didn't like the offer very much. Right on. Click next. Okay, never give up in ad sales. Try asking $25,000. So we're going to lower it to $25,000. Make an offer. What happened? Close, but not quite there. Make the next offer good. We don't have a lot of time for this. And you'll notice as you go through this, keep offering them too many or make too many offers. They just get tired of you and they reject you, even if you have a good price. Okay, so we're going to close this. And they said they're close. Okay, but they're losing patience. Let's not fool around. They're losing patience. We know that 23,000 is just below the 24,000 that we originally figured out at $30 a square foot. So we're going to be in 23,000. Whoops. Okay, this is make an offer. You have a hard bargain, but I'll take it. Okay, so we're going to take this one. You sold it. Perfect. Next. Okay, there's a lot of work. So 3 offers trying to get that one sold. Let's try to get aggressive right off the bat. Like, hey, mommy. We know that this big one over here is hey, mommy, right? The sponsor building on the far left, the skybox. Okay, offer them a skybox at 20,000. So here we go, skybox, 20,000. Okay, make an offer. What happened? Oops, sorry. See, I already forgot. You got to click this little box there. Make an offer. Yippee, I'll take it. It's an unbelievably good deal. Oof. Okay, they were ecstatic and probably would have paid more. All right, see, left some money on the table there. Okay, could have done better there. Okay, that is pretty well the overview of the learning phase. So the challenge phase, I'll just show you. On here, when you go to the challenge phase, the goal, you have to sell. Oh, I'm on step 4 already. Hold on. You want to sell a total of $1.6 million in sponsorship. Okay, so that is what your goal is for the challenge. 0.6 million. Okay. You begin at the start of sponsorship. All sponsorship opportunities are available to sell. These include sponsorships for field level signs, ticket booth signs. Okay, we're going to go over here. Just click over again. Okay, different sponsors have different budgets. Okay, make sure you click on these. Hey, mommy, they have a different amount here. So they now have this $165,000 budget. Make sure you write all these down. You should try to match your value of sponsorship with the size of their budget. So if they have more money, let's find a big one. This one, so now it's Bright Bulb Energy has the 1.5 million. I think that's the largest one. Look. Yep. Always try multiplying times. Always try multiple times in selling. Okay, so don't give up. Negotiating is not exact. It's not an exact science. Learn from past results and adjust. Okay, so this is the one page or one step here. So make sure you go to this step. So ticket booth sign. So they started to tell you what the going rate for different advertising areas are. So ticket booth, scoreboard, estimated values. Skyboxes are similar in value to the scoreboard sign. Stadium naming rights are about 4 or 5 times the value of a skybox. Okay, so basically telling you the general price of each of those. Okay, and then as you do that, you have the 1.6 you're trying to get to get 100%. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing right here. So I'm going to let you do the challenge phase on your own time. Okay, because right now I want to get moving towards the presentation. Okay, but I just want to see who hasn't evaluated yet. Second. Okay, Garen, you haven't. Christian. Both Garen and Christian. So if you two can work on or help out with the evaluation. So you're going to find the evaluation form on Blackboard. It's just use the rubric. Thank you, Aaron. And hopefully Christian is there. Thumbs up as well. Awesome. Okay, so today we have Ashlyn and Jess and Sam. I don't know, Sam here today. Yep. Okay. So hopefully you three are doing all right. And I am just, are you ready for me to hand it over to you?
Sure.
Okay, Jessica. So just one thing to remember, when you go to share, on the top of that share window that pops up, just click on the down arrow that says optimize for motion and video. Then when you see that pop up, there's a share your computer audio box that pops up in there as well. If you haven't showing, just so people can hear it, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to just mute my mic and I'll hand it over to you to get going, okay?
Wait, sorry, where's the thing that pops down?
You go to share, it's sort of, click on share, then the window that pops up, it says at the top of that box, it says share content. See that? I can actually, you want me to share my screen just to, I don't know, I won't show you actually.
I think I have it. So optimize, for motion and video.
Yep, and then on the right of that, it just says share your computer audio. See that? Right beside that box, it says share your computer audio.
Audio drivers.
Okay, it's okay.
Might be a second, sorry.
No problem. I can keep talking if you want.
I think I did it. You guys can see that okay? Okay. perfect. So we chose to do concussion in sport. So we'll just give you a little overview on what a concussion is. Sam, if you want to do that part.
Thank you, Josie. So a concussion is a very horrible an injury that influences your cerebral works. So impact are normal transitory yet can incorporate cerebral pains and issue with fixation memory. Concussions are generally brought about by a hit to the head. Severe shaking of head and chest area likewise cause concussion. So it's basically when we play a game and we hit together. So the concussion works like that, and it's really horrible for the players nowadays, and it's very common in sports. And concussions are likewise normal in the event that you play in a physical game like football and soccer. The vast majority ordinary recapitulate complete after a concussion.
So then just looking at some of the signs and symptoms of concussions. One reason I really wanted to do this topic is because I personally have had 5 concussions. So I definitely know a lot of these signs and symptoms firsthand. And I think what a lot of people who haven't experienced a concussion or don't know anyone who's had one, although you do have the physical symptoms that stay with you depending on the severity of your hit, like the headaches, the dizziness, sensitivity to light, things like that. Like for me personally, I found that the symptoms that still last now are the emotional symptoms, like anxiety. I have issues sometimes with like mood swings, things like that. Like, have anyone? Sorry, I should have asked first. Has anyone in the class had a concussion before? Like maybe you can just put a reaction or unmute yourself or something. Yeah, Zach, you have. I figured you probably have. Given rugby. Anyone else? Eric, yeah. Yeah, so I guess a lot of you probably understand sort of where I'm coming from as far as the symptoms. Has anyone had any symptoms that they find have lasted since their concussion? Like anything in particular? No? All right.
Okay, so we're going to show you a clip of about Aaron Hernandez. Just a little backstory. He was a professional football player in the NFL. He played for the Patriots. In 2017, Aaron Hernandez committed suicide while he was in prison for murder. After the devastating incident, the family of Hernandez actually decided to donate his brain to get examined. And what the doctors found is that Hernandez was actually suffering with CTE. So in this clip, we're just going to show like a little piece from the documentary on Netflix. And it's just the doctor explaining what CTE is and what happened to him.
Oh, that's great. I love technology.
That are suffering this disorder.
I kind of thought maybe it was just a publicity stunt of some sort, but I could not have been more wrong when I saw the results of his CTE.
The most significant, that this, for an individual who was only 27 at the time that he died, he had very advanced disease. And not only was it advanced microscopically, especially in the frontal lobes, which are very important for decision-making, judgment, and cognition. This would be the first case we've ever seen of that kind of damage in such a young individual.
I didn't know too much about CTE, but I started to look at the signs and symptoms or the effects of CTE, impulsiveness, rash decisions, sometimes propensity to be violent. I mean, it was Aaron Hernandez. And if you look at everything that this young man had going on, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, from what had happened to him as a child and for what he'd been dealing with in his own life, and then on top of it, you add the CTE, it all made sense that this tragedy, had probably begun, or the seeds of this tragedy had started many, many years earlier.
I can say that this is substantial damage that undoubtedly took years to develop. This is not something that's developed acutely or just in the last several years. I imagine these changes have been evolving over maybe even as long as a decade.
I think CTE could have, in fact, been a contributing factor to what happened, because I know Aaron's had concussions. I know I've probably given him personally 1 or 2 myself. He's told me about one I gave to him after the game, celebrating, just smacking his head.
I knew Aaron Hernandez from Bristol, Connecticut, an All-American. And to think that this is a game that we encourage young people to play, and the end result was that. I'm conflicted. I really am.
I wasn't.
So going off that, unfortunately, obviously, Aaron Hernandez is not the first nor the last person in the NFL or any sports for that to happen to. But if you haven't watched the documentary, I've watched it like 4 times, so I would suggest watching it. It's very good. So just what CTE is, it's a chronic traumatic, I'm not even going to try and say that word. It is a degenerative brain disease found mostly in athletes and military vets. CTE is caused by repetitive hits to the head sustained over a period of many years. So like they said, probably from when he was just starting as like a kid in football or maybe even college. This doesn't mean that everyone who gets concussions is diagnosed with CTE. Most people who diagnosed with CTE suffered like hundreds and thousands of head impacts over the course of many years. Many doctors in Aaron's family believe CTE is the reason for Aaron's death and possibly why he committed murder, but in the end of the documentary, they didn't end up blaming it on CTE. There was just not enough evidence to only put it on CTE. So, yeah. So this is just where CTE is mostly commonly found. So boxers who get punched in the head often, tackle football players, obviously their hits to the helmet, soccer players, ice hockey players with fighting and checking, military vets, blast injuries in combat, and also victims of domestic abuse and repeated violence.
So I kind of want to put it out there to see what you guys think on what sports in adults have the highest concussion rates in gameplay. Does anyone have any guesses on what they think the highest rate is? Like what sport has the most? Football? Hockey? So the way that they measure it is called for athlete exposure. So they do it per 1,000 athletes, how many are exposed to it. So based off of the research that we found, it was men's rugby actually that has the most athlete exposure per 1,000 athletes, with football kind of coming in as a close second, and women's ice hockey was third. And then as far as youth sports go, they don't break it down per gender, they just do it as a whole group. But it's actually relatively similar, and you see an even higher instance in rugby and youth, and the other rates in hockey and football are actually quite lower.
So these are just the prevention methods. The bottom 2 are more for like little kids, like youth, and then obviously you have to do those. But so proper fitting helmets and headgear, also certified by the NOC SAE. That's a long one. teaching and training athletes how to properly perform contact in their sport. So I know personally hockey, you have to go through like a whole training even before your age group can even be considered for hitting, to make sure that everyone stays safe. Of course, enforcing rules of fair play, safety, and sportsmanship. And if you think you may have a concussion, please stop playing. It only gets worse from there.
So Rowan's Law is something I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with. Rowan Stringer was a high school rugby player who passed away in 2013 after sustaining 3 concussions over the course of 6 days. Back then, concussions weren't as widely talked about in the sport industry, and if anything, it was one of those instances where athletes just kind of pushed through because they figured they were tough enough. They weren't really giving themselves enough time to understand their symptoms and the severity of the issue. So after Rowan passed away and they ended up doing an autopsy to realize that it was second impact syndrome that is what killed her, her parents really fought to create Rowan's Law, and it's now something through the government of Ontario that's enforced in sport organizations. Like, I know personally, I work for the New Aurelia Rec Center, and when we sign up participants, they have to acknowledge that they've read through Rowan's Law and they understand the risks and they understand the necessary actions that have to be taken if you think you've sustained a concussion. So what it means for sport organizations following the rules is that athletes under 26, coaches, trainers, and other participants, they have to review the concussion awareness resources provided by the government. Each institution has to create their own concussion code of conduct that they enforce thoroughly, and they also have to establish proper removal and return to sport protocols. I know personally, like, most of the concussions that I sustained were through Georgian, and the return to play protocol with Georgian is very intense, and there's about 8 steps that you have to go through before you're even allowed to practice. It's quite an intensive situation, and just looking at the hit, stop, sit, I'm not sure if many of you have seen that sign around, but I definitely have in different gyms and everything like that.
So this is just some new technology that some people have come up with. A Minnesota startup company called Preventive Biometrics has created a high-tech mouth guard that is head impact monitored. So the monitor is designed to measure impacts, but it's just as flexible, just like a normal mouth guard. Actually, in the Hernandez documentary, they talk about the mouth guard. I believe it's the same doctor that diagnosed Hernandez with CTE that did a whole thing about them and trying to raise awareness. Sean Springs, who I believe was a football player, has developed a new helmet that has new padding systems inspired by the car seat technology of safety first. Also, a study is in its beginning stages, say that concussions can have a direct correlation to neck strength, and those who've had weaker necks were more prone to concussions. So this study was done on rugby players. I don't know how far that study has gone yet, but they basically just said it's up to how thick your neck is, whether you were getting a concussion or not. So I found that pretty interesting.
I don't know why it's freezing.
I think the last sides are references anyways, so.
Yeah. And that's all.
Does anyone have any questions?
Did you? I'll ask a question. Did you run into any sort of like in-game protocol, or like when you get a concussion during a game, what's the process of evaluating an athlete?
I only know from my personal experiences, like through Georgian protocols. There was one game that I got hit in the head, and I just got pulled immediately, and the athletic trainer had to take me into the back room, into a quiet space. We went over sort of like the baseline testing that they make you do at the start of the season. And from there, we sort of determine like where you're at, but it's most likely that you're not allowed to go back in, and you have to go in the next day to do more thorough testing.
Okay, and what are some of the testing or baseline testing that takes place to an athlete to determine if they have experienced a concussion during play?
A lot of it's memory based. So if you don't have a great memory to begin with, it kind of sucks. But a lot of it's sort of like, where are you? What time is it? What's the date? And then they'll give you, let's say, like 5 different random words, and then you have to say it back in order. I know they also, if it's not sort of in gameplay, and if they have you come in later, they have like different computer software where it sort of tests your reaction time. And then also there's the physical test that you can do too to determine like eye movement. I had to do a lot of like, it's hard to see with my arms here, but you had to like keep your arms out and like touch your nose, things like that. And they take like popsicle sticks and sort of gauge until like how far the popsicle stick got away from your face and how your eyes diverged out. There's a ton of like different little tests. I feel like I've done them a million times at this point.
Okay. Now, what do you think, other than the personal issues and personal health of individuals, do you have any opinion on what the impact concussions have had on professional sports? Is it taken away the popularity? Like if you're saying football, American football is one of the, other than rugby, American football would probably be the, I guess, most popular sport or that's watched that has a lot of concussions taking place. Do you think, is that having any effect on the sport overall?
I think it's starting to. I know a couple years before the whole Aaron Hernandez thing, I can't remember the player's name, but something similar happened to him. I believe it was a domestic abuse from a concussion, like so all that. So I believe like there was some sort of like someone got sued, like a football team got sued, and I think a lot of maybe people that were just watching football for the game stopped watching it because of how unfortunate concussions can be for some players, and they don't get recognition for it. They don't have anyone on their side when something terrible happens to them.
Yeah, it's definitely something like organizations as a whole have had to adjust over time, and I don't think it's going to be something that's going to stop at any point. Like I think if anything, things are just going to continue to get more strict because it's a complete liability thing at this point. No one wants to be liable for the trauma that's associated with head injuries. And so I definitely think that impacts football, especially being such a physical game, but even just sort of minor sports as well. I think like from a coaching perspective, they have to be a lot more adaptable now to sort of take into consideration, like one day you might have a player and the next they could be gone just based off of protocol purposes.
But Jessica, what sport do you play?
Basketball.
Okay, basketball. And I know that wasn't on the list, but I know there's not a lot of protective equipment in basketball. So I'm thinking that the concussion rate would be a bit higher because of the lack of protective equipment. And similar to rugby, where they are starting to introduce some helmets to some players, but really not like a football or hockey helmet, that sort of thing. But what do you think, or who in this group will you have any opinion on the development of equipment to protect athletes against concussions? Is that something that is happening, or is it just sort of take your chances?
It's definitely something you're starting to see a lot more of. I know in basketball, it's a little bit more difficult in regards to equipment. Like I know a lot of players who have sustained concussions where they start to wear mouth guards now, and it helps a little bit, but it's still not enough, I think. I know also we came across a few girls that we played against who sustained a lot of concussions, and they had these specialty headbands that you can put across. I'm not sure how effective they are and the research that goes behind it, but I know, yeah, in sports like basketball, where it's less equipment based, you definitely run the risk.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for that presentation. And I just put in the chat the Microsoft form that you can do a peer evaluation. Okay. And that's you just fill that out and I'll be able to have a look at that. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to move on to the next module. I've opened it up already. There it is. Oops. That's not it. But there it is. Hold on a second. One moment. There we go. Nope, that's not it either. Why is it opening up the wrong one for me here? Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Maybe you guys were seeing it before it even, for me, it wasn't showing up on my screen. Okay, so we have promotion, media, and measurement. Okay, so this one's a bit similar. It's just, it has connected to the sponsorship one, but we'll just touch on a few things here. Excuse me. Budgeting and ROI. So remember that, oops. ROI was return on investment, which we talked about last week. And advertisements are everywhere, which we've kind of determined everywhere, even a little bit at the Olympics, but not much. But, you know, everywhere we go, we know that on our social feeds, you know, if you're watching your Instagram or anything like that, TikTok, you're getting ads in there all the time now. Commercials of the newest bodies, whatever it is, 3G coverage. Now that's old, obviously. It's like 5G now. And they do kind of talk about more traditional ways like television, radio, billboards, newspaper. And they do talk about social media as being more cutting edge in this concept overview, which I don't actually agree with. I would say social media is normal, and maybe it's newer in the last 15 years, but you know, every time you get a new app, like a social app, and I, you know, would say TikTok's probably the more popular one now that people use, but you know, when you're scrolling through, you definitely see ads for different products that you have been, you know, buying online. For some reason, oh, suddenly your cat food shows up on your TikTok feed. So don't know how that happens, and we're not getting into that, but it does happen that way. So anyways, that's just the one area of sponsorship and promotion that we see. So we know that the companies use a promotion and sponsorship is leveraging another company's brand to grow their own business, whereas advertisement is the leveraging of a company's own brand to grow its business. Okay. Why do companies employ the business strategy of advertising its product? Answer: simply to increase revenue. That's basically, these are the things right here. So to increase revenue, create brand loyalty, raise awareness to inform consumers of the product. So there's different reasons why companies are doing this, but it is to make their brand stronger. Professional sports seems no different than Fortune 500, and they mentioned this in the quiz, so be aware of this. creating the next best Washington turn for in this sport. Professional sports teams need to raise awareness when a team is playing, who the team is playing against. So when the team is playing, who they're playing against, where the game will be held, so fans and consumers can attend in person, watch or listen to the game through various mediums, channels. Doing so creates brand loyalty with its fans and interested parties, as well as generate revenue through increased game attendance and greater television, radio broadcast right agreements. So basically, it comes down to generating revenue, right? That's the main reason why they're advertising. So the main forms, traditional advertising, media, we've mentioned televisions, billboards. They talk about billboards. Maybe it's more of an American thing because you see it along the highway so much in the States, a bit in Canada, but not. There's more laws against advertising on billboards on the highways. But when you drive through Toronto, you'll see the electronic billboards with advertisements that are quite popular. You don't see it so much on the highways leading up to the 400 or up to 400 and that sort of thing. But newspapers, I would have to say online newspapers now, websites, radio, I would say and then we have your different apps that you use as well. If it's Facebook or whatever else is in there, you see advertising. And each play a role in the advertising campaign. Studies performed by Market Share, the company found that television advertising is the most effective medium. Now, when I say they say that television advertising, because I don't know how many people have cable, like in their house to watch TV or TV channels. I know about 5 years ago, I just said I don't need cable anymore and cut that and just use, pick my favorite channels and go through their app. And, I watch Sportsnet, TSN, I might have, Disney Plus or something like that, or Netflix. So I guess in some of them, the sports ones, you still see the advertising. I think in when you watch the different, if you're watching Netflix, you're not really getting too many ads. And I don't think you have Spotify, you're listening to the radio. Spotify loves to throw their ads in unless you buy their monthly subscription, and then you're avoiding the ads. So they're getting money one way or the other. They're advertising to you, so you're getting some sort of product from them, or you're paying to avoid them. Okay. Websites can be effective in two scenarios. First, the formatting of a team's own website to include advertisements or promotions for games throughout the year. And second, to buy space with an advertisement agency so that team's advertisement will run on various websites. Various websites a local computer goes through on a regular basis. Billboards and newspapers, again, online newspapers, because really there aren't newspapers around anymore, not like they were 20 years ago. Help attract local fans, but skewed to catch the reader's eye in a very short amount of time. So it's when you're walking by the billboards, walking by a newspaper stand or something like that, okay? Setting up a budget. The budget will consist of marketing or advertising expenses. The advertising campaign may accumulate the total amount of money the campaign has to spend. Create a list of desired media buys and calculate the costs associated with each initiative. Some of the expenses will include the research initiatives like direct mailing questionnaires. Also includes any production costs like design, art, graphics, those sort of things. The budget will also need to take into account the tracking, monitoring effects of advertisements to determine the effectiveness, which includes an analytics or statistics program. There's just a few expenses that need to be accounted for in the budget. So there's lots of things that are accounted for in the budget. Advertising spending will lead to the generation of revenue. Okay. More effective spending will generate greater awareness and ideally bring in more interest from the fans. In turn, advertising campaign budget will have more money to spend when the team increases ticket sales, concession sales. Okay, so in turn, the advertising campaign budget will have more money to spend when, okay, so the team increases ticket sales, concession sales, season ticket packages, parking permit sales. Also, if sales drop, the advertising campaign will scale back, right? Will scale back. All right, so there's more money coming in. They can bring more money coming in by increasing ticket sales, so on. If sales drop, advertising campaign will also have to drop. Okay, connected. Market research. This is part of this module. Market research is a process of collecting information about a particular company's target audience, target market. The main goal of market research is provide the team with information that allows it to better meet the needs of the customer and fan, right? Okay, so research will consist of looking at trends in the market. For example, United States soccer has grown to be second most popular sport amongst those 18 to 34 years old, only behind the NFL. Okay, that's interesting, right? 18 to 34, second behind the NFL. Wow, that's pretty big. Okay, when you think that, in Canada, what's the biggest sport? It's way different than the States. So in the States, you have always, NFL, NBA, soccer, baseball, NASCAR, and there's NHL. So in Canada, we put NHL probably at the top. The team will conduct a majority of its research through surveys, questionnaires consisting of, this part here. So surveys, questionnaires, one-on-one interviews, telephone surveys, mass mailings, online surveys. So different ways of doing your market, your research, okay? Okay, so one way is with focus groups. I'm not sure, has anyone here been part of a focus group? I know I've been definitely part of different focus groups during my time. I know there's a few spots in town that they would call me once in a while and say, oh, do you want to come in and be a focus group for lawn fertilizer or something like that? And then you go in, they pay you $40 to listen, or $60 or something like that, listen to them for an hour and answer a few questions. He may look at trends from other teams in the league, determine local and national advertising, and apply some of these principles to its own advertising campaign. Some of the more unique ones that have been taking place, it's not, I guess, not all teams do it. Maybe that's why I call it unique, but when you're watching hockey or football, when they actually put the advertisements right, it looks like they're on the glass of the arena, but if you're in the arena, you don't see them. The TV or the broadcast company is putting those on the glass or on the field for a football team or soccer field. You see those ads on the field. Some of them are not actually on the field. They're only available to be viewed by the people watching through the cable or the provider. Okay, so market segmentation is important to know. So after the gathering of research, the team will use market segmentation to divide its market into different common characteristics and these are geographic, socioeconomic, behavioral, or psychographic. I talked about those. Okay, so they need to decipher trends in the distinctions regarding the particular market subsection. So they're trying to find out who is going to their games, who wants to come to games, maybe groups of people that aren't going to the games. They want to figure those out too. They also want to figure out which way to market is the best way to market. Okay. For example, the Seattle Sounders have a large millennial population that did not have cable television, but instead stream the game through computers, watch a game through the social media on your phones. We all know this is possible. Therefore, it may spend more money on television or radio advertising to try to attract the fans that consume their sport through more traditional mediums. If it never segmented the market, the Sounders may waste resources targeting its entire market, the same type of advertising that will most likely not reach the people it was intended to. Okay, so back to ROI again. There isn't really question. I don't believe too much on ROI in the quiz or on the learning phase. And ROI serves the purpose of measuring returns associated with the amount of money that has been invested into the advertising campaign. To calculate ROI, the team will divide the total expected financial gains for the cost of the campaign. Okay, so that's a simple formula right there. This is entirely quantitative analysis whereby the team spends some amount of money on an advertising campaign, which is expected to return a certain amount of dollars. It will increase ticket sales and concession sales and broadcast viewership. There's a point in advertising spending where the amount of sales will not justify the amount spent on advertising. Okay, you need to understand this concept, the saturation point. Saturation point represents the optimal advertising in terms of revenue. And market saturation also coupled with the hollow core market share theory. A team may try to spend a certain amount of advertising dollars to gain bigger share of the market, but by the time it does take over the market, it has spent so much money that it will not be able to recoup the investment, making the increase in the market share hollow. Okay, just remember that. I believe that's probably in the quiz. As we go down here, we have a few other key terms that we've already talked about: advertising campaign, ROI, saturation point, target marketing, budget, media. We've talked about all those in the last few minutes. Okay, so instead of going straight to I'm going to open up as I go here to the sharing. Hold on. I'm going to open up the motion and media quiz, which is now open. I'm also going to open up the learning phase for the sim and the challenge phase. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to go through the learning phase. So this will give you some important information. I'll show you how this works. And go share. Okay, so promotion, media, and measurement, right? Step 1 of 10. Okay, so we have, actually, I'm going to just take a quick break here. Stop sharing that for a second because I need to take a little quick break. So I'm going to just take a break. It is 9:48, so at 9:55, break till 9:55. All right, so give us 7 minutes to take a quick break. All right, I will be right back. Okay, it's almost 9:55. 9:54, just wait another minute. If anyone else is going to join us, leave us. Okay, I am going to share my screen once again. Okay, I needed that break. How about you? Okay, so we have 10 steps here. You know, we have the promotion, marketing, and media measurement. One of 10 steps. Okay, so here, hopefully you've opened this on Blackboard. You'll be experimenting with no advertising at first to see how many tickets you sell. The estimated attendance of the game is 14,000. All you do here is it's 14,000 they're saying, and click the start button. Okay, so we know the start button is right here. It goes really fast because it's at 100 times. Let's see, watch the crowd. Oh, it's not that full. All right. They want to know how many tickets you sold. So we know that we hit reports, event reports, and then right over here, how many tickets you sold, right? Right. Got it. 11,517. Okay. The next game, they're thinking that they're going to sell 14,000. Okay. Click close and click close there. And reports, financials. Look at the bottom line, bottom of the column labeled September 10th. No, here's September 10th. Bottom of the line. What is the profit? We know that it is 64,876. Click next. That's positive, but not as good as it could be. You'll now try to improve with market research and promotion. Click close, right? Then we're going to go here, go actions, promotion, traditional marketing. Oh, hold on a second. Actions, market research, I'm sorry. And all they're asking you to do is check the checkbox next to what traditional media do you favor? Right down here. Okay, so just check this checkbox. See the other things in here. How old are you? What is your gender? What is your income? How close do you live to the stadium? What's your favorite type of music? What are the main leisure interests? How much are you willing to pay to see a football game? So all different questions they could ask in this survey. We're going to just click OK. Then we see that, oh, okay, the results are in. Cable TV is the biggest one in this scenario, okay? Cable TV. Let's close. And if you want to play with this, you can. You can go actions, market research. What is your gender? Okay. Male, female. Well, it's 50-50 pretty well. You can play around with this. Actions, market research. What is your income? And click on that one too. How much are you willing to pay? Like, okay. Excuse me. What is your income up here? You can see that this is the range that people make, and then how much you're willing to pay. Different. Okay, so you can play around with that. Anyways, we know that the cable TV was the answer for this one. We're going to hit next. Cable TV is the favorite media, traditional media in the area, followed by preferring print. Click close. Close the survey. We did that. Actions. Promotion, traditional market media. Okay, under cable TV right here, put $75,000 and hit OK. And we can close this too. And we're gonna hit start. And it's at 100 times the speed. Here it comes. Oh, it looks like maybe we had a few more people, I'm not sure. And did it. What? Look at the event report. Go report, event report. And what was the attendance? Well, it actually went up about 2,000. All right. See that it went from 11,517 to 13,398. Click close. Before you do that, yeah, click close. close. We go actions, promotion, traditional marketing, traditional media. Okay, and we're going to enter $250,000 into here. We're going to spend lots of money on TV. Hit OK, and then we're going to hit start. Oh, looks like you almost sold out. Let the simulation run until it automatically stops. Look at the event report. What was the attendance? Oh, that was 15,774. Next. Attendance increased another 2,000 from the last game, but click close here. It is good the attendance gone up, but it is important to also look at the bottom line. So click on reports, financials. Oops. Financials, and profit for the last game, the bottom of the column labeled September 24th. Okay, we see down at the bottom, we have the 125,517. How does the profit for most recent game compare to the profit for September 17th? It's actually gone down. So September 17th was more profitable. Spent way more money, but you didn't make as much. Okay, next. Hold on. Yeah. You actually did better only when you spent $75,000 on TV promotion. So the expense of $250,000 on TV advertising outweighed the benefit. It might be beneficial to spend more than $75,000 on TV, but you've seen that $250,000 is way too much. This illustrates that at some point you get diminished marginal returns from advertising on particular media. Click close the financial reports and next to continue. Close. Now you'll probably try, let's try another approach. The TV most popular in marketing media in the market, but print also had fans. You'll be try appealing to them too. So click your auctions, promotion, traditional media. And we're going to put 75,000 back into here. And we're going to put 25,000 in print. Okay. Okay. And start. Let's see what happens. Did attendance at the last game improve over 17th game? Okay, so we're going to know we have to click on reports, event reports. And it's at the last game. 14,718. We're going to go up some 14,718. So it's just it went up about 1,000 fans. Okay, next. Attendance improved, but remember to keep profit in mind. Click close. Now let's see how your profit did. Click reports financials. Looking good actually. How was your profit for the game compared to September 17th? So again, let's look at here. 254.44, September 17th, one. So it went up about, I don't know, about 80,000 or so. 90,000. Okay. Was it 90? That's 60, 70, 80, almost 90. It's almost 90,000. It's close. Next. Okay, so that's the overview of the learning phase. I'm just going to go to the challenge phase for a moment. Okay. Hoping I'm sharing this with you still. Yep. Okay, here, I just quickly look at this. In the case of The Sims, you are the VP of advertising for the Calvary. Right, you've been given a budget of 700. Write that, or just remember that 750,000. Also been given the target attendance for the games to be 54,000. Next, points you have to remember here. Next, okay. So your total goal is 54,000. So you're trying to get people into the stadium, right? And you're going to be doing that by your actions. Remember your market research to find out that information. Then your tradition, you have to find the balance between print, cable, and radio. Okay, and to get where to get up to your 54,000 in attendance. So I think you have, how many games do you have? 1, 2, 3. Just 3 games. Okay, you have 3 games, 10, 20, 30, 40. All right, so you're going to give this a try. See how you do. You get 2 chances at that. All right, so I know you have some work to do on your own, but at this point, I will just ask if you have any questions. If not, the class will be over, and please, I'll stay online until everyone has left. Okay. Hopefully, everyone's doing good. Have a great day, and take care.